The debate was on capitalism, socialism, and happiness. Now, what are my perspectives on this matter particularly? Cooler Man, I don't have anything wrong with Chomsky. I want to debate him to learn more from him. Now, what are my perspectives on these issues? Well, it should be pretty obvious to anyone familiar with my content that I am an anti-capitalist. A pretty stringent one at that as well. I'm not reformist. I'm revolutionary. I'm quite angry all the time, at all times. The initial premise of the debate was a juxtaposition between capitalism and socialism. Now, this is an important, I guess, through line through which the subject of happiness must be discussed. Thank you, Interstate Anarchist, for the $2. And the reason for this is, of course, that for many people, especially if you're, as I am, a utilitarian of some course, then the reasons why we should choose either capitalism or socialism are oriented principally through the extent to which these different systems can help us achieve a happier life. Important, then, because there are people who pursue these systems for the value in and of itself. Imagine, for example, taking a deontological perspective to the subject of, say, hierarchy or exploitation. I'm an approachable guy. Thank you very much for the £5. Thank you for the money. I did indeed get that money. I really appreciate it. Say, for example, you take a deontological perspective to hierarchical social organization, that hierarchy is bad in and of itself. Well, this might lead one to become an anarchist. An anarchist is probably the ideology you can adopt which will lead to the smallest possible amount of hierarchical difference within a society. But I do not think most people think of it this way. People do not usually approach the subject of hierarchy and say, this is wrong because it is. This is an intrinsic moral wrong. We must do everything in our power to avoid it. We instead say, hierarchy is wrong because it typically leads to negative outcomes, because it leads to exploitation, because it leads to alienation, because it leads to violence, to brutalization, to other manners of undesirable behavior. So this is what a utilitarian would say, that when we oppose, Big T.O. Baller, thank you for the $5 Take my money, you anarchist. No, please don't. Not the money. Now, the reason why, as a utilitarian, you would pursue socialism is because you believe the tenets of socialism, the extent to which socialism changes society, the economy, world culture, what have you, all of these things benefit the life of the people who you believe are worthy of having their lives benefited. For an egalitarian such as myself, that would be everyone. If you were, for example, a Nazbol, like a Nazi socialist, like those who were purged during the Night of the Long Knives, then you might also believe in the tenets of socialism as a means by which people can be made happier. But you assign this sort of constituency of value rather than to everyone, instead to a small demographic of people. In the case of Nazbols, very often Aryans, the white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Germanic folk. So cool, great, excellent, wonderful, fantastic. Now, the reason why this was important in the context of the Žižek-Peterson debate is because Žižek is, of course, himself a famous Hegelian, Marxist, Lacanian philosopher who discusses the trash can of ideology and the extent to which the ideological conditions of capitalism perpetuate yourself, such and such and such. And many of his books discuss capitalism from the critical perspective, the idea that the values put forth through capitalism are values which lead to the worsening of most people's lives. Cool. Great. Good. And Peterson, who is, if nothing else, probably not a deontologist, he has to make a comparable argument from the perspective of a capitalist, and he did very often in his 30 minutes. You see, in addition to the many very often waylaid and intellectually dishonest accusations he made against communists by critiquing the Communist Manifesto, he also made a stringent effort to relate the benefits of capitalism through this very individualistic pro-responsibility lens that he takes. He is very much an individualist, Peterson. Not in the same way a, say, anarchist might be a radical individualist in believing in radical freedom and, such and such. But instead, the kind of individualist who believes that the principal unit of society is the individual, that you shouldn't address people as classes, and that personal responsibility is the means by which you can navigate the antagonisms of daily living. Now, the reason I want to lay out these perspectives right out the beginning, and again, it is obvious that I am a socialist, and I could spend a great deal of time explaining why I believe socialism is right, because economic exploitation and wage labor and the exploitation of the developing world and the reduction of human commodity to capital and how humans are interchangeable with da-da-da-da-da. Cake Comrade with the $5 says, do you think Bernie is useful for somewhat shifting the Overton window? Yes, Cake Comrade. Bernie is most useful for that. That is, in fact, the thing which makes Bernie most useful. Thank you for the $5. I agree completely. To destigmatize socialism as a concept, to make people in America more comfortable with the term and with the idea of collectivized, say, for example, healthcare, these things are good. Now, as I was saying, I could spend an indefinite length of time describing why I personally oppose capitalism and why I personally think that da-da-da is better and da-da-da is better, do-do-do-do-do. But it would be a waste of time for 3 reasons. 1, most of you are already familiar with my positions. 2, it's not the central premise of the discussion, not the one we're having now, and not the one that Žižek and Peterson were having, and 3, because it could go on for a very, very long time. I would rather speak to all of you about happiness. What makes a person happy? Ciencias, thank you for the $2. Peterson is bad daddy, Vosh is a good daddy. That's incorrect. I, too, am a bad daddy. I mean that in the... like in the sex way. My girlfriend's giving me shit now. You don't say that.
You do.
You don't.
Yeah, I don't.
You call me daddy in bed.
I really don't, and I don't want them thinking that.
It's too late. They already know.
Well, I don't.
Thank you for the $2, Ciencias. Yeah, I know, because you get jealous, because I'm your daddy.
No, I don't get jealous.
What the fuck was I saying? Happiness. So, what does it mean to be happy? What does it mean to produce a society which has within it the greatest level of constituent happiness? This is as much a philosophical, sociological dilemma as it is a psychoanalytical one, which is the reason why it was chosen as one of the 3 topics of discussion for, psychologist Jordan B. Peterson and psychiatric philosopher Žižek. because while it may stand that there are certain broader social elements that can be mitigated or managed to allow people a great degree of happiness, for example, these things make people happy. Having access to clean food and water, having their subsistence needs met, being able to travel, being able to spend time with friends, living in a society that gives them opportunities to produce things creatively, to engage with art, and to demonstrate their own personal value, to live free of economic and physical anxiety. Susan Schilbert, thank you very much for the £2, friend. Really appreciate it. These things make everyone happy. Nobody on earth is made less happy for these things. But I said your name very wrong. Well, I tried my best. Nobody on earth is made less happy through these things. Here are some things that we value that do not necessarily make us happy. Freedom? Does freedom make us happy? Right now, I have the freedom to do quite a bit, you know. I'm an adult. I can do a lot of cool stuff. I can't break the law, and I'm limited by my financial means. But I was still quite a bit happier back when I was a 9-year-old boy, and I had no responsibilities. So is it the existence of responsibilities that makes people unhappy? Well, that's not necessarily true, because there are some people who experience unbridled joy at the responsibility of having to take care of a pet or a new family member. So is it that only responsibilities which do not incur with them a tremendous degree of happiness? Is this the... What? What is the line? I'm speaking about this I think a little bit aimlessly, and the reason for this is because I feel very conceited discussing these subjects without the deep analytical familiarity that an academic might have. But maybe I can follow this through on a more personal through line. Maybe that would be better. Let me think. Peterson and Žižek both agreed that happiness is a byproduct of living life well, rather than the goal of life itself. To pursue happiness. Happiness is very much like love, or like those optic eye puzzles where when you stare directly at the painting, you see little dots in the periphery of your vision, but if you turn to look at them directly, they disappear. This is happiness. If you look at it directly, it disappears. To confront the feeling itself. It's very interesting because, as they said in the debate, you can make yourself sad. You can force yourself to be sad. Over here on this desk, there are a great many things I could do. I could hit myself in the head with this. This is pretty heavy. That wouldn't make me happy. I could destroy things that cost money. I could make myself sad very quickly. But there's nothing that you can really do to compel happiness, to pull it from your psyche. And this is unfortunate, I think, and a characteristic flaw of the human condition. That happiness is ephemeral, whereas sadness is very much material. So how do we build a society which helps people to become happy? What's the difference between happiness and contentedness? What's the difference between genuine happiness and ingenuine happiness? Is genuine happiness when you're at the peak of a high of a very powerful psychedelic? Possibly. Many people spend the rest of their lives chasing highs that they had when they were younger, though it never quite reaches that same point. If we were able to chemically induce a permanent state of that high with no degradation in quality for the entirety of a person's lifetime, is this a society worth pursuing? A society where everyone is drugged up, but somehow through some perhaps technocratic allocation, we're able to ensure that people are having their subsistence needs met? It's possible. But something tells me this is not genuine happiness. Because, well, really, there's no statement that can be made here without an assertion of values. I feel like, to an extent, happiness comes in line with contentedness and with understanding. Ignorance, anxiety, and alienation are forces which work tacitly against happiness. Or perhaps happiness is not the most important thing to be pursued. Maybe it's happiness in tandem with other things, like introspection. Is it really worthwhile being happy if you're blissfully ignorant of all of the things which would otherwise be making you sad? What happens if somebody walks up to you and makes you aware of those things? Is happiness struggle? Many people have posited that life is struggle. That life, not just living, but the process of engaging with life, is choosing your battles and struggling with them, and you feel the successes and the losses, and it is through the engagement with that process that you feel true happiness. I mean, how many people throughout history have been willing to fight and die blissfully for a cause that they believed in truly? That people are willing to lay themselves out as martyrs or as soldiers, who would do so without regrets. Now, of course, just fighting in some godforsaken trench in the Somme with your boot ankle deep, the water logging your boots, your feet rotting as you fire your Mosin above the edge of the trench. Does this make one happy? Probably not. No. But had you survived that experience, would having returned home with that suffering forever in mind allowed you to appreciate the happiness that you will experience later? Much in the same way that after you've had sinuses for some weeks and it clears and your nostrils clear and you can breathe again, that this is an extremely a relaxing, what is the term? Blissful, it starts with a C. I'm forgetting the name of the C. Cathartic, yes, thank you. Wyatt Seifert and Johannes de Ree and Aidan Clare and Duty. And yeah, you're all very smart. You said it. The catharsis of ridding yourself of an ill, of a harm, of a mote of unhappiness does exacerbate the happiness to be found afterwards. But then there are also soldiers who develop PTSD and live the remainder of their lives a hollow shell of themselves. Is the process of happiness then confronting struggle to the greatest degree one can without compromising their mental stability? And then, oh goodness, that's quite a bit of money. That bitch with no sass, with the 20 euros. Vosh, I was angered by Žižek because I'm a dum-dum with no academic knowledge and didn't know him. Žižek isn't to be cancelled, but academic debate. JP is rare, and I prefer an idpol leftist academic. I agree, there are other academics I would have liked to have seen in the place of Žižek, but I do like Žižek, so thank you so much for the 20 euros. That's incredibly generous of you. I hope that you enjoyed everything you had to do to get those 20 euros to me. Thank you. So again, is happiness living meaningfully and confronting struggle to the greatest extent that you can without breaking your own psyche? Is it a wavelength of some kind? Where's my camera placed? There it is. Is it a wavelength of some kind where your breaking point is here? Wow, that holy shit, that was a pixel straight line. You see that shit? I didn't hold down the shift key. I just did that with my fucking hand. That's some artist skill point. Whee! Anyway, is life the sine wave of happiness and suffering, and the goal is to ride the peaks as well as you can without dipping below the point where you permanently damage your mind and body? Is this it? But there are people who find meaning in their suffering. John Doe says happiness is being temporarily distracted from existential despair. I don't know if I buy that. Some people don't really feel existential despair. Ciencia says, I don't know, I was sexually abused, but I wish I hadn't. I mean, yeah, like, well, yeah. Well, obviously, that would be an example of a negative, sort of, a pressured force. I apologize, by the way, for this obtuse philosophizing. Listen, I am not a philosophy major. I'm sure that all of the thoughts that I'm expressing right now can be expressed much more thoroughly and coherently in the texts of many academics. But I felt like I wanted to get this out. Happiness is difficult. I mean to say, happiness is difficult. But there, oh wait, have you been on Destiny? Yeah. Like dozens of times I've been on Destiny. Happiness is difficult, but there are some things that we can do to increase the likelihood of living meaningful, happy lives. I mean, for example, humans living communally seems to produce better outcomes. Right now in the West, we have a tendency to just be like, you live with your parents until you're 18, and then you move out and you live on your own until you find a girlfriend, then you live together, and then you get married, and then you have children, and that's your unit. But living with friends, or with your family, or with your neighborhood, these things we used to do in more tribal communal societies, and even today, like Mexican families, very, very often, they live big families together. These things seem to make people happier. So we have that. To be able to engage in creative production. This is a very necessary component of Marxian ideology. The ability to create, to see your creations brought to fruition, to see yourself in the reflection of the thing you have made. This is a fundamentally beneficial component. Anarcho-Tac says, how to cure derealization. I feel like reality isn't real because of drug abuse. Anarcho-Tac, I can't help you with that. That's an actual mental problem. Anarcho-Tac, the only thing that I can say in regards to derealization and drug use making you feel like reality isn't real, is that you painted me. You painted me with the rainbow snake penis. I can't put myself in your position because I've never undergone what you're experiencing right now. But I can say simply that whenever I have this weird sort of solipsistic feeling that other people aren't being real, what I try to remind myself of is that I, on a daily basis, am surprised by what I encounter in my life. That I am confronted by things that I do not believe my own imagination could procure. Very often when I watch, for example, high media, not reality TV. Reality TV is bad for this. But when I watch well-crafted anime, for example, or when I listen to a debate between two people more intelligent and well-learned than me, I am always learning and growing from this. And I know that this is not a process my brain can engage in on its own. I must be engaging with outside stimulus in some sense, and the stimulus must be authentic, because if it was not, then my misinterpretation from it would be consistent to the extent that I am learning at all times, consistently for my entire life, the wrong lesson from existent material phenomena. Which is which seems very unlikely to me. Whatever the case is, I don't know what happiness is, and I don't know what makes people. I mean, fuck, I have fucking manic depression. Okay, I'm not it. This ain't it for when it comes to like how to be happy. Alexi Time. Thank you very much for the $10 again. There was a film called Happiness. It was a lie. It did not make me happy. Yeah, you can't judge a movie by its cover, my friend. Well, I hope it at least made you not happy in an engaging and thoughtful way. Thank you for the $10. I will arrive at my conclusion now. The Vosh is bipolar? Yes, I am. The happiness is a byproduct of a life well lived in many cases. At least it seems to be for many people. Well lived depends on many things, but there are some ways we can socially orient the people around the likelihood around which they could achieve happiness. Film helped me understand happiness. Wrist Cutters. That doesn't sound like a very happy film, but thank you, Sam Kane. Thank you for the $2 and thank you for the knowledge. Burb, yeah, I'm here for you, buddy. Bipolar rep. Whatever the case. How long you been listening to Žižek for? You sound different. I do notice that after listening to Žižek lectures for like 6 hours in a row, I do talk a little bit like him. I'm gonna try and stop that. I'm very impressionable when it comes to my accent. Please pronounce Žižek correctly. Žižek. Žižek. Can I finish my point? Listen. There are things we can do to make society more accommodating of the circumstances which increase the likelihood of people being happy, and I think socialism is it. I think a distancing from capitalism, which treats humans as tools and human labor as a cog in a broader economic machine, which demands we serve capital rather than human interest, which alienates man from the product of his creative labor, which distances man from his neighbor, from his family, from his friend. I think that a step away from those tendencies is a step towards happiness. And if I wanted to struggle with the conceptualization of how I should make my life happy, I would rather do so in a socialist society than a capitalist one. Ciancius, thank you for the $2. If you're unhappy, I'll be a bad girl to help daddy. I'm in flirt jail. I'm in flirt prison. Don't you realize? I'm on flirt lockdown. I cannot. What the fuck was I saying? Oh yeah, I now open myself up to questions. I'm going to be streaming for a little bit longer. I actually took notes for this one. Here we can see my Peterson Žižek notes. And I went over it again. So I'm pretty tired after all of that amateur philosophizing. So until I head off in about 15 minutes, I will, I open myself up to you. You need a community Minecraft server? So I keep getting told. Struggling from chronic procrastination, extreme lack of motivation. What should I do about this? You have to find ways to make work enjoyable. It's really that simple. Are you going to watch the John Doyle video or not? I mean, is there a benefit to? Do I have to? Opinion on Stirner? Stirner? I haven't read any Stirner. Do you think it's possible for the U.S. to eventually become a moneyless society? I mean, sure, like in the distant future, anything's possible, but I don't think it's very likely. What did you think of Peterson's Dostoevsky argument saying that communism is bad essentially because problems are essential to life, so suggestion to make life easier is bad? It was a very stupid argument. Just because problems are essential to life doesn't mean that you can't get rid of vast swaths of inequality. You could make the same argument against people protesting during the civil rights movement. Like, oh, you want to be able to use the same water fountains? Well, don't you know that life is suffering anyway? Are you a utilitarian? Yes. Do you have any theories on why high school boys are so often reactionaries? I have some theories. Yes, I do. Honestly, I think a lot of it, and by a lot, I mean a lot of it, has to do with sexual entitlement. You need to legally change your name to Comrade Daddy. You know, I don't like being called Daddy. Are you willing to talk with people like Finbull? I don't know who Finbull is. Can we get a dab on the lobsters? There you go. Thoughts on Guy Debord? Don't know who that is. You should watch for the John Doyle video for the 50-second LARPing at the start. Fine, I'll do it in a minute. I'm glad you agree. I find that argument so frustrating. You can apply it to anything. Yeah, it was a pretty dumb argument. Thoughts on the very necessary economic system called planned economy? Shut up, Lenin. Why is academia so left-leaning? Like, honestly, the reason is because critical thinking, introspection, and education all lead one towards the left. It's really that simple. It's very difficult to be academically honest and be a conservative. Do you think the banks and their main method of operation have a place in the discussion of capitalism, or is that more of a separate issue? No. Fractional reserve banking definitely ties into the underlying structure of capitalism, but it does make the conversation a lot more complicated. Do you think there is any merit to the idea that Foucaultianism is the dominant academic belief? Maybe in higher academia, but in like undergrad level academia, I do not think Foucault is no. Maybe in higher level, but we should keep in mind that like Žižek has 2 doctorates and has been a professor for decades, and he's a professor himself. So like his perspective on what academia is going to be very different from mine. Should change happen at the local level? Yeah, change should happen at every level, right? But national level will always trump local level. Do you have a quick and easy primer on how to identify fascists and tell them apart from regular conservatives? I mostly go by a method I can't really formulate that well myself. Yeah, it mostly depends on it's really about being able to sniff out dog whistles. If they ever start talking about things like cultural Marxism or like, or like Israel or Jews, it's really hard. It's really hard to say. It's really hard to say. Or IQ. There's like it's hard. Fucking Vosh's dog whistling course is a $5 Patreon only video seminar, and it's 6 hours long. What's your internet speed? Like 100 down, 7 up. Why are you in flirt jail? Because the poppy drama. Finbull equals Finnish Bolshevik, a sort of okayish tank. Yeah, sure. I mean, I could talk to anyone, right? No idea that you didn't like Daddy. What do you prefer? I don't really like sub-dom play, honestly. You can just call me Vosh. Or my real name, if you know what that is.
No. Leftist tech support knows it. Don't encourage him.
I was obviously joking. Keep my name secret. What do you do about... Yeah. What do you do about actual skinheads in my school and class? Egg 'em. I mean, for real though, I don't know. Try and intimidate them if you don't think it'll compromise your safety. Have you read anything good lately? Not really. Penis? Thoughts? I do like dick. Thoughts on Mark Dice? Don't know much about them. Thoughts on Faraday Speaks? They seem cool. I can talk with them whenever I want. I have them on Discord. Your opinion on Heidegger? I need to read more of them. If you don't know what Guide to Board is, watch the newest Radical Reviewer video, then watch the rest of his videos. I could do that if I found time. Am I bisexual? Yes. Why do you think former communist countries failed at forwarding socialist communist utopia? Why are the countries so nationalist today? They never even came close. There were never any communist countries. They were never even socialist. They were state capitalist, and their state capitalism hinged on national pride. It makes sense that they turned into the states they are. Your mic seems to be popping a bit. I have no idea why that is. Oh God, I gotta speed up. How do I stop wanting to die? I am not qualified to give advice on that. I gotta speed up a bit. What do you think of co-ops that are not only worker-owned, but is also partly consumer-owned as well? I don't care much for consumer-owned co-ops. It's worker-owned co-ops that I give a fuck about. How does one hook up and get their boy pussy pounded safely while minimizing the risk of being hurt by inconsiderate, abusive chuds? Talk with people extensively before agreeing to fuck them, and also come up to NorCal so I can fuck you. Wait, that was flirting. Don't actually come up to NorCal. Where do you draw your opinions, variety of tactics? I don't know why you people think I read books. Radical Reviewer, I know you like reading. Can you post a list of features YouTube chat is missing sometime? Well, like good emotes is a big one. Keeping my family from stupidity is near impossible through myself every year. What's the best approach to integrate better ideas? I don't know. Challenge them to better themselves. Indicate loftily that you have not only the better ideas, but the better framework from which to approach the discussion surrounding those ideas. I don't know. Have you ever considered a fan meetup? Yes. What is your ethnicity? I'm half Polish, quarter Irish, quarter German. Do you know if there's been any research on non-binary people? There has, but it's not like... It's more of an ideological concept than it is like a biological one. Okay, hold on. All right, shut up and chat. I don't care anymore. I got bored. Okay. Oh, man. I can see all of the donations that I got earlier, but I can't... But I didn't see them. Oh, man. Wait, hold on really quickly. Hold on. Okay. I got some donations down there in chat that went straight to my PayPal that I did not... Oh, being cool is for nerds. Thanks for the $10. Sorry for referring to you as daddy. Love you, Vosh. Thank you for being awesome. Heart and earnest. How do you think leftist unity is best achieved? Honestly, left unity is best achieved by all of us focusing on our fucking positive agreements. Jesus, just please, Christ. Just try and find what you agree with in people. Quit trying to make yourself feel superior to other people by fucking virtue signaling. Just stop. Ah, Saul the Sad Boy. Thank you for the Buckery Dooney. Hold on 1 second. I got some donations from PayPal that I didn't read because I had the link misset. So I'm now going to read all of these actual people's human names out loud. Okay? And this shouldn't be a problem with doxing wise, because this will literally just be like shouting names into the void. So we should be good, okay? Hold on, because I feel really bad, because that was shitty of me to not make sure the link was set up. Okay. You're right. So we had $5 from Dustin. Thank you, I love you. Then $5 from Caspian. Thank you, I love you. Then $5 from the same Dustin. Then $5 from Evan. Then I don't even know what this, 4 ILS? I have no idea what currency this is. ILS? Pretty gay. But those 4 entire ILSs came from Caspian, and then €2 from Tom's, $1 from Free Realm Productions, $50 from Daniel Gaynor. Thank you so much. I'm really sorry I missed that earlier. $5 again from Free Realm Productions, €1 from Peter, $5 again, or $5 from Victoria, and then another 5 from Victoria, €1 from Peter, $5 from Evan, $5 from Adam, and then $5 from Victoria, and then we hit the point where the donations were being funneled through properly. I apologize to those of you who donated, who I didn't see. I'm genuinely sorry. I am a boomer. Such is life. Put the Discord link in the thingy. Oh, I didn't put the Discord link in the thingy. Whatever. Can we just focus on this? Hold on. Should probably bring it down a smidge. There we go.
His side, which
so this is John Doyle. John Doyle is like a little mini Hitler, I guess, kinda. Not really. He's a little shit. I'm supposed to debate him early next month, which is what is it, the 21st? So what, maybe like 2 weeks from now? That'll be fun, right? Hold on. While I'm watching this, let me bring up my chat. Shut up. All right, let's do it. I'm not even here to. This is not going to be like a full fucking review, okay?
And you ask yourself at this level of phrase and at the level of sentence and at the level of paragraph, is this true? Are there counter arguments that can...
Oh, that bitch with no sass. Thanks for the €6. I'll be waiting for you when you leave a flirt prison. How many weeks until you're free? Also, no more donation for a few days. First of all, your donations have already been incredibly generous, and I really do appreciate them. So don't you worry even a smidge about the delay. And for 2, I don't know how many weeks I have left in flirt prison. We'll see how long the drama takes to die down. Oh man, because like at the same time that this drama happened, there was a person I was flirting with from my fucking Discord, called Kitsune, and they cause I'm horny, okay, and they were cute, and they were fucking weird, and I sent them dick pictures, or I think I just sent them a dick picture of my like bulge through my underwear, and then they got mad after I banned them from my server for being like a transphobe or something, and they got banned from everywhere, and then on Twitter they started like posting my dick pic, which is revenge porn, by the way, and they were like, is this even Vosh's real dick? Vosh doesn't look like this, because the dick is like also got my stomach, you know, And okay, like Jesus, so I've gained like 10 pounds since I took that picture. Jesus, fuck, calm down. But but yeah, no, his shenanigans have doubled the flirt prison time. Ciancias $2. Sadly, my dead name was one of those red. Ciancias, no! I'm sorry. This is the only time it'll ever happen. I'll be using your username from now on. Ciancias is your real name to me, by the way. I have already forgotten all of the fucking names that were listed on the PayPal account. Okay? I love you. You're beautiful. And your new name, whatever it may be, your actual name is also beautiful. All right?
Be put forward that are credible. Is this solid thinking? And I have to tell you, and I'm not trying to be flippant here, that I have rarely read a tract. Now, I read it when I was 18. It was a long time ago, right? That's 40 years ago.
This is Jordan Peterson unironically admitting that he has not read like any Marxist literature, and that the only Marxist literature he's read is the Communist Manifesto, which isn't even theory, and he last read it when he was 18, which was 40 years ago.
But I've rarely read a tract that made as many errors per sentence, conceptual errors per sentence, as the Communist Manifesto. It was quite a miraculous reread.
John Doyle in. Heck off, commie.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, as always, to Heck Off Commie. I just got back from Toronto. I was there attending the debate between Jordan Peterson and Slavoj Žižek, and I have some thoughts about it that I'd like to share. And just to be clear, I'm not going to go point by point with everything, breaking stuff down, because you can find the debate online. You can watch it yourself. I would highly recommend doing so. And I'm also not going to do what I've seen a lot of people do online, which is try to argue on behalf of either Peterson or Žižek in order to explain why my guy actually won the debate. So, anyways, the resolution of the debate was happiness, capitalism versus Marxism. Jordan Peterson spoke first, and the structure was Peterson.
I'm an approachable guy. Thank you very much for the £2, friend. Here's some more money, but not a lot. But still, I don't care how much money you give me. All I care about is your love and support. Thank you. But the money helps me buy food and stuff, and I'm actually quite hungry pretty much all the time. So thank you.
Peterson would have 30 minutes to make his argument. Žižek would have 30 minutes to make his argument. Peterson would then have 10 minutes to respond to Žižek's argument, and then Žižek would have 10 minutes to respond to Peterson's argument. So Peterson got up there, and he basically started by saying that since he regards the Communist Manifesto as the root of the problem, is how he described it, he was going to highlight 10 assertions that it made and then explain why they're incorrect. So he did just that. He went through the relation of the hierarchy structure to history and biology. He mentioned that there's a lot more to human struggle than just class struggle or economic struggle.
Oh, God. Do we have to go over this point by point? I'm going to try and do it quickly.
Correct. So he did just that. He went through the relation of the hierarchy structure to history and biology. He mentioned that there's a lot more to human struggle than just class struggle or economic struggle.
Marxists acknowledge this, that human hierarchy is not entirely a product of class differentiation. This is not a criticism.
He talked about the dekulakization. He gave a timeline of the binary of good and evil, how that ties into identity politics. He made arguments for
the binary of good and evil, as I do not think a academically substantiated difference. 1 second. Let me get some water. I'm really fucking thirsty.
For the benefit of the profit motive. He talked about the inevitable corruption of the proletariat.
Inevitable corruption of the proletariat. A bit of a strange assertion there, because one could not argue the proletariat was corrupted in Soviet Russia, only that they maintained their position as the underclass. Inevitable corruption if they seize power? Kind of a strange statement to make. Let's speed up a little.
He cited that even Marx and Engels admitted that capitalism is unprecedentedly successful at production.
Yes. Everyone acknowledges that. Literally no one says otherwise.
Then he finished by saying that capitalism creates wealth and inequality, and all other systems just produce inequality. So he made a very strong case here. And I went into this as a fan of Peterson. I also looked into Slavoj Žižek's work, and I don't agree with him on much. There are a few things, but honestly, I like the guy. He's a good guy. He's entertaining. He's very smart, but so is Jordan Peterson. And
so leaving the Jordan Peterson being smart argument aside, the idea that Jordan B. Peterson launched a substantive defense of capitalism and assault on communism by making a 10-point list of problems with a pamphlet that was a call to action for peasants is laughable. It is comedy to me. The idea that anyone could believe that a substantive argument can be made against communism by reading the Communist Manifesto. Again, this is literally the equivalent of reading the Bible and coming up with contradictions and coming up to Jordan B. Peterson. Or if you want to use a non-theocratic example, you could talk about picking up like Ayn Rand and be like, yes, I have read the Fountainhead, and I have come to the conclusion that there are multiple antagonisms within the text that entail within them the necessary deconstruction of the capitalist ideology, and so on and so on.
The audience would not give him that. I was curious as people were filing, and I was like, I wonder how friendly this audience is going to be to Peterson. You know, this is his stomping grounds, but it's also a pretty far left city, and I'd say it was probably like 60% anti-Peterson. I know this because the way the audience reacted whenever he spoke. I'll see if I can find some clips.
And it's
I feel like the audience was pretty 50-50 split. Also, Peterson has a much larger following than Žižek these days. Well, I don't know. It's not really relevant.
finally the case that human hierarchies are not fundamentally predicated on power. And I would say the biological, anthropological data on that are crystal clear. You don't rise to a position of authority that's reliable in a human society primarily by exploiting other people. It's a very unstable means of obtaining power. So that's a problem. Well, the people that laugh might do it that way.
Oh, I forgot about that part. When Peterson said we're no longer at a point in history where people attain power by exploiting others, which is such a laughable fucking assertion. Yeah. Also, I like how John Doyle's argument here is that the audience was anti-Peterson because he made a ludicrously stupid statement and like 6 people laughed near the front row.
This went on throughout the debate, and it never happened when Žižek was talking, and I think you can infer a lot from that. There's another one.
Well, Žižek never said anything unbelievably stupid. I mean, Žižek got laughs because they were laughing with him. Žižek is a very funny guy.
It's really bad, where people were cheering for violent revolution.
And that was the first stage in the communist revolution. And remember, this is a call for revolution, and not just revolution, but bloody, violent revolution, and the overthrowing of all existent social structures.
Again, that was like 10 people cheering and clapping. I don't know. I would take that in good grace if I was John Doyle. I'd be like, oh, those kooky fucking audience members. But you got to do the moral panic thing when you're a reactionary. Like, I can't believe that in the audience there were actual fucking genocidal Antifa members waiting for the violent revolution.
Actually physically cringed. Like, I was condensing my body in my chair when they started talking about a violent revolution. Like, they were really just engaging in some live action role play there.
Is it live action role play to cheer a little bit when somebody says violent? Is that it? Is that where we're setting the bar at for LARPing? That's a pretty fucking low bar. Wait, so if you does that I don't even know how to draw an equivalence to that. It's just a very dumb statement. So anytime you cheer for something you like, that means you're LARPing for it?
I mean, they're sitting there watching this event, wearing $1,000 Canada Goose jackets, drinking wine by the glass, talking,
Wait, there were like just a couple people that cheered during the violent revolution part. Did he like go up to them afterwards and check out their coats and be like, hey man, sick $80 a bottle champagne.
Overthrow the capitalists. Like, what are you gonna do? You gonna hit us with your Prius, big guy? You gonna blind us with your hair dye? Like, obviously, violence should be avoided at all costs, right?
This is okay. Does John Doyle he knows like intrinsically? He doesn't know who the fuck cheered over that. And also the ancient meme, excruciatingly ancient meme of you can't criticize capitalism while you have nice clothes and a car and stuff because you're actually in the capitalism. Yeah, and again, John Doyle complaining about LARPing people when he unironically has this intro.
John Doyle.
This is John Doyle moments before accusing you of LARPing for your preferred ideology.
When these people cheer at the idea of violently overthrowing a group that is largely composed of people that hoard guns as a hobby, just for kicks. Hey, didn't you just buy a gun? Well, yeah, so why'd you get that one? It's like, this one has an optic that came with it.
I love this too. And now he's LARPing. Now he's LARPing right now. He's like, those leftists couldn't overthrow us. They just got Priuses and they've got with their $1,000 jackets. And also, we're the ones with the guns. This is literal. John Doyle is such boomer bait. Like, he's such boomer bait. Everything about his content is designed to appeal to the sensibilities of like a 68-year-old fucking sextagenarian like former PMC who just sits at home watching Fox News and like liking Facebook memes that agree with him. God, Jesus Christ. Of course, and you guys should know this, obviously, when people talk about violent revolution, they don't talk about killing all conservative people. They talk about class solidarity and class consciousness so that conservatives and liberals alike will realize their shared interest in overthrowing the bourgeoisie. But it's cute. It's cute how they like to pretend that, like, the conservatives are all prepping their fucking militia arms for the invasion. Mike Huckabee's gut. Thanks for the 220 knocks. I don't know what that is. John Boyle, the U.S. didn't have violent revolutions. Yeah. And Ciancius with the $2. Got my pizza now. We should steal his 3006? Probably, yeah. Okay. Thank you, guys. Let's get this shit over with. This stuff, John Doyle's content is so fucking below me now.
But anyways, and there are other ones where people just yell out at him that he's the stupidest man in the world. But there were times where he would just make a point, and leftist members of the audience would just laugh at him as if what he said is so incoherent that it's actually comical. And this is the difference. I overheard a lot of conversations from people in line and around.
Is it? I didn't hear that much laughing from the audience. I thought the audience generally had pretty good decorum.
Me, and all the conversations from Peterson fans were something to the effect of, I'd never heard of this Žižek guy before. Marxism is bad. Peterson's helped me a lot. You know, I gave his book to all my friends and family, and to some degree this is misrepresentative of Žižek's views, and we'll talk about that when we go over his argument, but all the conversations I heard from people that I presumed were Žižek fans never actually mentioned anything that they liked about Žižek. Maybe they weren't even fans of his, they were just insulting Peterson, but they're talking about how Peterson doesn't understand XYZ, how they would take him out in a debate if only they were on stage, and it's like,
I don't understand. He's literally just talking about like his forum experience? Is this meant to be an argument? He's just talking. There's no point here. Oh shit. HK, thank you so much for the 20 fucking pounds. That's like $30 dues, or at least it would have been pre-Brexit. No problem, comrade. You say thank you, I say I fucking love you, buddy.
It's like they actually believe that they're smarter than Jordan Peterson. They actually think that if they went up on stage and threw some recycled Marxist argument they heard on Reddit
and thank you, Ciancius, for the $2. Maybe I will try political juice next.
Against Peterson, that they would ruin him. Like, really? You think he's never heard that before? You think that's what's going to stump him? Like I said, I don't agree with much of what Žižek says, but the guy's not stupid. You couldn't just go up there and tell him, well, communism killed people, because then you'd be on the receiving end of a well-studied lecture summarizing the Soviet bureaucracy and what he regards the true cause of the death to be. And sure, you could argue against him, but the point is when you get to that level, a level that he's at, you really have to know your stuff.
This is the only thing he's ever said that I don't find odious. Like, leaving aside his disagreement, the fact that he gives some level of intellectual credence to Žižek indicates to me that he doesn't, like, he's not 100% anti-intellectual. That's cool, I guess. But for the rest of this, he's literally just being like, I was online and I saw the Jordan Peterson fans and they were all like, yes, I'm nice. I'm interested in Žižek's things. And all the Žižek fans were like, I hate Jordan Peterson. I could do a good job against him. And that's dumb. Like, I don't know what to say. He's just talking about... He might as well be talking about his day. Like, I went outside and I went to go get the mail and I saw a leftist on the other side of the street and he fucking just looked at me and didn't wave. But then I saw a conservative over there and they waved, and that's why. Like, I don't know what to make with this.
And I accept that. Most people in the audience seem to accept that about Žižek. But Peterson, he wasn't given this benefit of the doubt there. People just laughed at him and insulted him. If you watch, Žižek is annoyed when they do it too, because Žižek is very against postmodernism, to my knowledge. He's also outspokenly against political correctness.
Žižek is not against postmodernism in the same way that Jordan Peterson is, and he is not against political correctness for the same reasons that Jordan Peterson is. And I'm only like varyingly familiar with Žižek's content. Also, yeah, I love this conflation of their like ideological respectability here. Žižek is an academic who gained credence as a philosopher, as a Marxian, Hegelian, Lacanian philosopher, who has written fucking like 50 fucking books, who is constantly working and reading and writing, and he gained prominence through the academic channels that he that he studied within. Jordan Peterson is a psychologist who grew famous after critiquing Bill C-16 in Canada, something that has literally nothing to do with psychology. He is not in any way academically qualified to discuss economics or political science or philosophy, but he does so anyway. So of course, Žižek is going to be given more of the benefit of the doubt. He also didn't say anything fucking stupid. Žižek didn't show up with a copy of The Fountainhead and say that he found 10 things he didn't like about it. If he had done that, the audience would have jeered at him pretty fucking hard.
And for those reasons, a lot of leftists don't like him. So anyways, on to Žižek's argument, and this is where I think Peterson won the debate. He got up there and started by condemning the left for attacking both Peterson and himself, which I respected a lot, honestly. You can respect someone without agreeing with them. My knowledge of Žižek before this debate was limited, but my first impression of him, he's a nice guy. He's respectful, he's funny, he doesn't like the way that the left has been polluted by identity politics. He's a good guy. So anyways, then he directly addressed the resolution of the debate and said that he...
You know what's funny? We can actually learn from this here because Žižek is far left. He's even mounted. He has a picture of Stalin framed in his house. He's mounted defenses of like unironic, like full communist revolution. Like he's far left. But because Žižek is funny, and because Žižek is not super hard on the identity politics shit, he can win over the respect of even fucking proto-fascists like John Doyle. Take this as a lesson, guys. Because Žižek behaves in a way which is not entirely odious to the reactionaries, he can win over their hearts and minds too. John Doyle just said it himself. John Doyle is telling us how to change the minds of people like him. We should pay attention to that. That picture is ironic, Vosh. Stop embarrassing yourself. Of course it's ironic. When did I say the picture of Stalin wasn't ironic? I watched the fucking documentary where we talked about it being hung up, among other things, while he was like wandering around his apartment. Jesus. Dan Steele with the $2 says, wait, reactionaries have hearts and minds? They're wilted, but yes. But we can water them back to their appropriate size and dimensions.
We would be talking about happiness, capitalism, and communism. Capitalism. And then he went into China and said that this is the most exemplary example of this because according to him, they combined a strong authoritarian state with free markets, bearing in mind wanting to maximize the happiness of their citizens. He went into the philosophical idea of happiness, which we'll come back to. And he talked about Trump's ego. He talked about the religion's ability to make people do bad things. He said that white liberalism is the embodiment of identity politics, which was an interesting reaction considering he took a shot at a large proportion of his audience there.
The majority of Žižek's followers are not white liberals. They're leftists. I know that John Doyle wants to conflate these two things, but... And also, it should be noted that Žižek, when he spoke about China, he talked about China as an economic miracle, but he also said he found China horrifying because they've done everything that they have at the cost of a great many social and political rights.
And he talked about jealousy and identity. He talked about globalization and religion, and finished by basically saying that the free market has done great things, but it needs regulation. And also that he's pessimistic and doesn't think that we'll be able to solve the problems. So here's why he lost the debate. And I'm not saying this as a Peterson fan, like, oh, he got owned by Peterson. It's like, but as someone who's done competitive debate before like this, you have to argue the resolution. You agree to argue the resolution by consenting to the debate. And his strongest argument was his example of China, which doesn't appear to be true since they consistently rank lower in happiness than the United States, for example.
What? Žižek didn't bring up China as an argument that state regulation over free market capitalism makes people happier. He talked about this as an indication of how free market capitalism, with regulation by the state, can do a massive amount to improve the economic circumstances in a country without making the country happier. He said he found the example horrifying. He said he was terrified by the example China had set. Did John Doyle fundamentally miss the point of the argument Žižek was making? It's more likely than you think.
And then he finished by admitting that the free market does good things, but it just has to be regulated. It's like, okay, well, Marxism isn't regulation. Marxism is the abolition of the free market. So
This is precisely what I mean about the difference in perspectives from someone like Peterson, who courts reactionaries online, and somebody like Žižek, who's an actual philosopher and academic. Žižek showed up with the interest of engaging in sort of discursive discussion, this discursive analysis of the subject material, capitalism, socialism, happiness, and what have you, whereas Jordan Peterson came to argue a point. Žižek's approach is, by its nature, more academic and intellectually honest because it facilitates the capacity for discussion in a way that isn't about point scoring. Peterson can't do that because Peterson is not educated as a philosopher. He is not a philosopher. What John Doyle here is conflating the winner of an argument, as in who made the best point and substantiated it in the best way, with the person who brought the most ideas to the table and substantiated them the most thoroughly. And in that respect, Žižek won hands down, bar none, unquestionably. John Doyle has such a punchable face. Thank you, 1D, for the £2. I mean, he's a kid. I don't know.
So he lost because he didn't effectively argue the resolution that he consented to in the first place. He just jumped around a lot, brought up a lot of other things, and I actually feel as if it would have been better to just have them sit there and discuss audience questions, which they did briefly at the end because they both just know so much. But Peterson seemed to go into it, or seemed to have gone into it thinking that it was a debate, and so that's what he prepared for. And Žižek seemed to not think so. I don't even think Žižek believes that Marxism is better for happiness. So anyways, it was still a great event.
He does believe Marxism is better for happiness. Žižek just didn't approach this discussion like a fucking like a formal point by point debate, which is, as I said earlier, probably to the detriment of everyone, because he had an obligation to address Peterson's nonsense a little bit more directly, but that doesn't necessarily mean he lost. It's more like he didn't really play the game. I guess that you could argue Žižek lost the debate if you're willing to. I'm going to be charitable here, and I'm going to say that you could argue Žižek lost the debate if you're willing to examine the discursive arrangement in the most narrow, debate-oriented, rhetorical sense possible.
Event. I definitely recommend watching it, excuse me. The highlight of it for me, though, was at the end. Žižek gets up and he straight up tells the audience, Trump is not actual fascist. You need to stop being so political correct. It was hilarious.
And now I'm speaking not for you, but for me. Please, if you are a leftist, don't feel obliged to be politically correct. Think. Don't be afraid to think. And especially, would you agree, one great version of not thinking is how immediately, if they don't agree with you, you are labeled a fascist. But that's the laziness. People find something they don't agree with. Instead of thinking, they think about something we all agree was a bad thing. You are a fascist, and so on. It's not as simple as that. Even Trump, of whom I'm deeply critical, no, I'm sorry to tell you, yes, he is a catastrophe in the long term and so on, but he is not a fascist. You make it all too easy to play these games.
The reaction on
I disagree with Žižek here. It's a discussion that I'd be willing to take to another time. Because no, it's a difficult discussion. The question as to whether or not Trump is a fascist and whether or not there's a benefit to using labels like that. But when Žižek says that, when he says Trump is not a fascist, don't be afraid to not be PC, so on and so forth, he's not kowtowing to reactionary values here. He's either actually saying rather directly that leftism is better served by a more moderate approach towards these issues. And it's true, calling somebody a fascist can be a thought-terminating cliche sometime. I call people fascists pretty often. I called John Doyle a fascist at the beginning of this video. But I always make sure to substantiate my claims with an understanding of what they believe and why it's bad. Never, ever call somebody a fascist or anything else, reactionary, what have you, unless you're willing to answer why if somebody challenges you on it. If you do otherwise, you're doing a disservice to all of us. Mizerom, thank you very much for the South Korean $50 South Korean dues. Hey, Vosh, thanks for your tent. New to the channel, could you tell us quickly what your own academic background is? Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for the support. And second of all, it's not much. I have a bachelor's degree in sociology with a minor in communications, but I was pretty academically active while I was in university, and I'd be willing to go back and get a doctorate sometime, maybe.
Online is my least favorite part of this whole thing. Everyone's saying that Žižek was intellectually slaughtering Jordan Peterson. Peterson couldn't even comprehend what Žižek was saying, and it's like, I mean, they joked that he was on stage, Peterson, just Googling spark notes on Marxist literature.
Okay, so this is where John Doyle complains that everyone else on the internet thinks that Peterson did poorly. So here's Cuck Philosophy's tweet, which went viral pretty hard. I saw it all over the place. So Peterson had a year to prepare for the Žižek debate, decided to go back to reading Marx, only read the Communist Manifesto, managed to get almost everything wrong in a speech he had prepared. I didn't expect much from him, but Jesus. I mean, Cuck Philosophy is right. He went back, read one book, it wasn't even theory, and then misrepresented it. One die, thank you for the €2 and 1 pence. Can we hear your Žižek impression again? I would love to actually conduct a holistic stream experience using my, very flawed Žižek impression, and so on and so on.
Comprehend what Žižek was saying, and it's like, I mean, they joked that he was on stage, Peterson, just Googling spark notes on Marxist literature just to try and keep up, and it's like,
okay, these memes were funny as fuck. I don't care if John Doyle's mad. These memes were funny as fuck.
I don't know how you could actually have that interpretation of what happened unironically. Peterson argued for free markets because that's what the revolution was. Žižek jumped around into different topics seemingly just to make general points instead of to make a case for his side, which was supposed to argue that Marxism is better for happiness. I don't know.
That wasn't... At the beginning of the debate, the moderator didn't come out and say, and now, Žižek will be making the case that Marxism makes you happier. Žižek approached this as a discursive analysis. Again, like I said, to be charitable, in a very narrow lens, you could argue that Peterson won because he treated this like a debate and Žižek didn't. Žižek treated this as more of a dialectical exercise. I think that Žižek, in a very narrow debate sense, lost, but in every other conceivable sense, and by the senses we should regard this discussion with, he won.
I watched it go down. I watched it go down live and in person. I'm definitely not a Marxist scholar, but I really don't think it was the intellectual beatdown that the anti-Peterson people are claiming that it was. There was one point where Žižek criticized Peterson's rule of setting your house in order by saying you wouldn't tell someone in North Korea to do that, and everyone online got all uppity like, wow, Lobster Boy has been owned, even though Peterson came back with data that shows that people tend to do better in life when they set a path forward compared to those that don't. And that it wasn't meant to ignore circumstances beyond one's control, but rather prescribe that one doesn't use that as an excuse not to act on what they could control. And Peterson really...
Yeah, but Jordan Peterson very often criticizes people who are trying to affect societal change by telling them that they need to get their house in order, even if that house is not in order because of the things which need to be changed. This is sort of a Mott and Bailey here, skipping past the point that's actually being argued. Jordan Peterson wasn't just saying you're happier if your house is in order. He because that's true, obviously. He was saying that you shouldn't try to change society if your house isn't in order. And Žižek very pointedly responded, you wouldn't say that to somebody in North Korea. And now John Doyle is saying that Peterson rebuked that rebuke by saying that there are studies showing people are generally happier with houses in order. Yeah, we know. That's not the point being argued. The point is what Peterson says, you shouldn't go out and engage in activism unless your house is in order. Sam Kane, thank you for the $2. Debate Žižek wisely, went for the audience. I think so. People generally seem to... Yeah? 5 minutes left in the stream. Just cram it. Just make little aluminum foil gloves. She gave me the finger. One die, thank you for the two pounds and 46 pence. John Doyle thinks water is too spicy. It's true. John Doyle has to put a drop of bleach into every gallon of water he drinks to bring the acidity down a little bit. All right.
really put the nail in the coffin with his response, which was when he brought up happiness, and both of them have similar understandings or ideas of happiness, I guess would be the way to put it, that they're byproducts of other things, and you shouldn't try to be happy, you should try to instead minimize your suffering. And then Peterson cited global data that shows that as people become wealthier, they become less miserable until you reach a very high income level, and he cited that at that point, no additional amount of money is actually going to make your life better, which is a good point. But yeah, both guys are obviously very educated on the topic. It was great to attend. You should definitely watch. And
Wait, he didn't even talk about Žižek's approach on that subject. He was just like, both guys talked about this. Peterson cited statistics about this. He didn't even... Okay. Yeah, sure.
And you should also look into Žižek's work if you aren't familiar. The guy's a pretty interesting character. And also, I enjoy much of how the left hates him because he doesn't buy into the political correctness or the identity politics narrative.
Again, John Doyle is telling you how to court the interest of reactionaries. He's telling you, he's holding you down. He's tackled you in the middle school locker room, and he's holding you down, and his big brown peepers are looking directly into yours, and he saddles his face next to your ear, and he says, "Hey, reactionaries are much more accepting of leftist values if you don't couch them in progressive identitarian, politically correct politics." He's trying to let you know. You just got to listen. One die, again with the 2 pounds. John Doyle thinks air is too spicy. It is true. John Doyle, when he's not filming for the for Heck Off Commie, has to wear a respirator that adds some pine tree air freshener to his the breath that the air he inhales,
and publicly criticizes them for it too. It's funny because when the people who were there to support him, or rather heckle Peterson, started shouting out at Peterson, you could just see him get frustrated because he knows how childish they were being. So, 10 out of 10. Hey guys, can't talk right now, busy owning Jordan Peterson, but you know what to do. Leave a thumbs up and a comment, and also share the video with a friend, and subscribe also if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much for watching, and may Comrade Stalin bless. I mean, I can't even say that. That's just so wrong. This is just incorrect. No, heck off. Oh, okay. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching. May God bless America.
Was that like a magazine?
No, heck.
It's like, that's like the thinnest, widest book. What font size is that printed in? What book is that? Wait, can we... Okay, that's the Communist Manifesto. That's why it's so thin. This is like a little baby book. And nothing... Stalin wasn't even born when this was... Okay, all right. All right, well, that was fun.